What's up, everybody? This is King's Accountability Channel, and today I want to talk about how to solve some problems that we have in our country, some of the bigger problems, and just some ideas that I have in order to do that. This is going to be the first of a three-part series on ideas on how to curb homelessness in the United States of America. And I want you to think about that for a moment. The title of our country, United. We as citizens of this country are all united under one flag. That does not only pertain to the wealthy, powerful, and influential people, it also pertains to those less fortunate. The test of a civilization is the way it cares for its helpless members. Pearl Buck. The moral test of government is how that government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. Hubert H. Humphrey. Our government, specifically in the United States of America, is supposed to be a constitutional republic and a representation of the people's will. However, as societies and empires rise and fall throughout history, the will and needs of the proletariat are often foregone and diminished by the power and will of the bourgeois, no matter what type of government there is. If you are self-aware enough to know you do not actually care about the people, tune out, turn off. None of this perspective will make you a good person. I believe personally that being an actual good person requires more than just caring about yourself, more than caring about your family, your friends, or the people in your immediate proximity. You have to care about people you don't even know and you can't even see. You have to value human life. This introspective into homelessness and how to cure it is going to focus mainly on the relationship between government and religion. Throughout history, governments and religions have worked hand in hand to control people and give them direction and purpose in life. Governments have often referenced higher power to justify their actions. The Egyptians had many gods and many slaves, while the pharaohs were exalted as divine. The Mayans killed millions in sacrifice to the gods to get their crops to grow. The Nazis used Christianity to justify fascist laws and the execution of Jews. And the Catholic Church even spent hundreds of years killing people and scientists for proposing theories and ideas that contradicted the church. You get the point. For the purposes of this introspective, I want to focus mainly on Christianity as the predominant religion in the United States and one of the religions that I know the best. This isn't an attack on Christians themselves or people who believe in Christianity and actually follow its tenets, but more the religious institutions that pervert those tenets for personal gain and agendas. Churches within the United States of America collect tens of billions of dollars annually, with some reports estimating over $100 billion given directly to religious organizations. The average church collects around $165,000 per year, though this varies significantly with the size of the congregation, from a median of about 66,000 for small churches to upwards of 2 million for larger ones. That amount of money could easily end homelessness outright, overnight. This money that we're talking about, of course, is all tax-free in the United States due to being tax-exempt by registering as a 501c3 charity or religious organization. 501c3 is a specific section of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code that grants federal tax-exempt status to nonprofit organizations organized and operated exclusively for specific purposes such as charitable, religious, educational, scientific, or literary work. Churchgoers will sometimes admit that churches do, in fact, operate like for-profit businesses. In my opinion, that business is not always based on the religion or denomination they publicly espouse, and more of a social club perverting that religion while feeling good about themselves for doing so. Churchgoers will also repeat the excuse that because they are incorporated as a charity or religious charity, that they are functioning as one. In fact, many churches' donations are done in cash from a collection plate, which is not easily traceable by the IRS, and most registered income is used to operate and maintain the properties. If you have not noticed, most churches are massive castle-like monuments meant to inspire awe to draw more to the congregations. Monuments to themselves. There are also a small amount of donations that often are used on missions overseas, meant to both help third world communities and to spread their faith. This is often done so that the actions of the missionaries and costs of the mission cannot be easily scrutinized. A few pics and videos here and there, and nobody questions anything. After all, religion is faith-based, not evidence-based. Many people on the outside looking in see these charitable acts for what they really are: money laundering and a form of pyramid scheme to buy influence and power locally and globally to push agendas of those at the top. You can look directly at megachurches and pastors who launder money collected from the pulpit through merchandising and personal business expenses closely affiliated with their churches and religion. They're piggybacking their own profit on religion. They live in mega mansions and fly around the world on multi-million-dollar private jets, while hundreds of thousands of dollars are found in their walls, and they turn away disaster relief victims. These actions are the exact opposite of Jesus' actual teachings. The needy. One of the major tenets of Christianity is to love thy neighbor as thyself. The Bible command to love thy neighbor as thyself is found in the New Testament in the books of Matthew 22:39 and Mark 12:31, and is also a core principle from the Old Testament book of Leviticus 19:18. Akin to turning away disaster relief victims, such as Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church did after Hurricane Harvey, churches will often exercise their private property rights by utilizing the government, which they do not pay taxes to trespass people from their properties. This does, in fact, happen often. Try looking up Travis Heinze on YouTube. I have had this happen to me personally as well at the Faith Church in Arvada when I was simply resting in my vehicle under some trees in their parking lot. These churches will enjoy not paying taxes and utilizing the government while demonstrably not following the basic tenets of their religion, which grants them the tax-exempt status in the first place. I believe we could fix homelessness in this country overnight if we altered the IRS tax code to be able to revoke tax-exempt status of churches shown to not follow the tenets of their religion. Some of you out there might have noticed that as a self-proclaimed First Amendment auditor, this might be a hypocritical take. After all, the First Amendment, shortened, the way that you can remember it is RAPS, religion, assembly, press, petition, speech, with religion coming first. However, I feel that the government allowing these religious institutions to exist as religious institutions and providing them tax-exempt status is actually providing them more liberty than they deserve and the average person would receive. Currently, there are only a limited number of ways a church can lose tax-exempt status. Failure to file. The IRS automatically revokes the status of organizations that do not file the required annual tax return form, like Form 990, for 3 consecutive years in a row. They can also lose their tax-exempt status for excessive political lobbying. Engaging in a substantial amount of lobbying activities can cause a church to lose its tax-exempt status. They can also lose their tax-exempt status through excessive political campaign activity. Churches are prohibited from participating in or intervening in political campaigns on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for public office. Now, one of the big ways that a church can lose tax-exempt status, which is the one that all these mega churches really find loopholes to get around and work around, is private inurement. The organization cannot operate for the private benefit of insiders or individuals. This means the church's assets cannot be used to benefit private individuals more than insubstantially. One of the key words here being assets. Like I said before, a lot of these megachurch pastors, they release books and merchandising, and this is all off of the back of their position at the church, but that is not technically any kind of asset. And the last one, which is a little bit vague, is illegal or questionable activities. Engaging in illegal or questionable activities can also lead to the loss of status. I don't know what the government is referring to here with questionable activities. Illegal is pretty straightforward. In July of 2025, under the Trump administration, a key change to these laws has taken effect with the IRS and how they scrutinize these tax-exempt statuses. These churches are now allowed to endorse political candidates in the form of family discussion from the pulpit as to who they believe should be advanced into government. Now, many of these churches have been doing this for years. They just had to be careful about how they said it. Now, at this point in time, they do not have to be careful anymore. They can say what they need to say without it being coded. One of the last ways that churches can lose their tax-exempt status is through unrelated business income. Earning too much income from activities that are not substantially related to the church's exempt purpose can jeopardize its tax-exempt status. Nowhere in the tax code does it state that religions must adhere to their own tenets due to the First Amendment and freedom of religion. The government does not have a formal recognition process to declare a religion as official, particularly in countries like the United States where the First Amendment prohibits establishing a state religion. Instead, the government's relationship with religion is defined by the constitutional principle of protecting both the establishment of religion, meaning preventing government endorsement, and the free exercise thereof, protecting individual religious practice. There are a couple of key aspects that come into play here, one of them being the Establishment Clause. Prevents the government from creating a national religion or favoring one religion over another. Now, you could say that there are definitely certain ways that we could point to in which the government does this at all times, such as travel bans from Muslim countries could be one way which the Establishment Clause is violated. Another one being the Free Exercise Clause, which protects the rights of individuals to practice their religion freely, which means the government generally cannot interfere with the religious beliefs or practices. When these clauses and violations or possible violations of these clauses are in question, it is up to the courts and a judicial interpretation to have established tests like the Lemon Test to determine if a government action unconstitutionally establishes a religion. This test requires a law to have a secular purpose, not primarily advance or inhibit religion, and not foster excessive government entanglement with the religion, which, in my opinion, these tax breaks are interference with the religion because we are a capitalist society, and if these ideas were good enough, they would not need government assistance for these ideas to propagate and flourish. Instead, we are subsidizing the advancement of religious institutions that don't even follow their own tenets at times in this country, which is kind of where I find the problem. When we are addressing religious freedom and what that means, legal protections apply to a wide range of beliefs, not just traditional organized religions. The government's role is to ensure laws are applied in a way that doesn't infringe on the sincerely held religious, ethical, or moral beliefs of individuals. Some of the differences about how religions are addressed in other countries are that the processes can be different. For example, some nations recognize religions through a registration system, which may grant certain privileges while sometimes also imposing restrictions. I don't believe that a fair application of tax code without tax-exempt status would be a restriction that is applying the same tax code that every other institution that is not a charity, an actual charity in this country, already adheres to. So these are some of the core principles of our country when we say religion is to be protected within the First Amendment. However, I believe that there is an argument to be made that allowing churches and religions to be tax exempt is granting more liberty than other 501c3s, and those extra liberties should be revocable should they be shown to not be following the religion's core tenets, and this would not be interfering with religion or how people choose to practice that religion. Homeless people, whether you like it or not, are a product of a sick society. A product of late-stage capitalism where the wealth gap between the rich and the poor is constantly growing. A product of rich people's greed. The average American is 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless themselves. Whether you like it or not, homeless people exist. And they are people. They are not objects. They are often Americans, sometimes even veterans, and part of your community. You cannot just kill them or put them in cages like animals to solve the problem. You cannot just round them up and ship them away where they are out of sight and out of mind to solve the problem. They are in poverty and they need help from others. And if you believe in America first, they should be the mission of true Christians. Not all homeless people are jobless, drug addicts, mentally ill, criminals, or trying to die homeless.
Okay, can we finish up?
What
Like,
most
we
of
got,
them
like,
need
maybe
is stability in
5,
their
10 minutes
lives.
left?
Sometimes that just means
Okay,
a consistent,
so
safe
we
place
can't
to
finish?
sleep where their belongings don't get stolen by other people
Like,
or the
maybe an hour and
government.
a half?
Things like camping bans are essentially criminalizing the poor, and unfortunately, the right-wing Christian
Alright, man.
Supreme Court has ruled that
You can
camping
just say
bans
nice,
are
you don't
now
gotta be so rude about
constitutional.
it.
With camping bans being constitutional, when police now contact someone sleeping outside in a tent in a vehicle, they are going to automatically be allowed to infringe on their Fourth Amendment rights due to existing being a criminal activity. They can steal from them by giving them tickets, as well as throw away all their belongings. There are hundreds of videos of police bulldozing camps and putting everything in dumpsters. In some cities, it is even illegal to feed the homeless. This right here is where churches can step in and love thy neighbor as thyself. They can offer safe places to sleep. They can offer restrooms, water, and actual engagement to reintegrate these people back into society with an added incentive of conversion. Unfortunately, in our late-stage capitalist society, that type of direct involvement is an interruption of profit-based motives of churches as social clubs for fake Christians. Some of the same people who go to some of these churches on Sundays for prayer and feel-good services and endorphins will happily vote their local government, enact these anti-homeless laws, happily trespass from their properties, and vote in ways to criminalize poverty. And who do these Christians call to take care of the poor for them? They call the government, who they don't pay taxes to, the police, the prefects, the Pontius Pilates of our time. These fake Christians love to forget that Jesus was a homeless, brown, Middle Eastern, dress-wearing, immigrant, socialist Jew who denounced the power of money and flipped the tables at temple, flipped the tables of fake Christians trying to profiteer off the name of Christianity, and he was killed by police for it. I want to end with this because I believe it is important, and I think that we all have a responsibility in a civilized society to care for more than just yourself. Have a good day. Thank you. Leave some comments. Tell me what you think.